Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, following the decision of Senator Bongo to withdraw from the presidential race, the ruling party PDP Laban says life must go on, but who will be their standard bearer in the 2022 elections? PDP Laban Secretary General Melvin Matibag joins us live. Also, the government extends the national vaccination days until Friday as the country braces for the Omicron variant threat. And for 3 times in a row, the Philippines remains at the lowest spot in Bloomberg's COVID-19 Resilience Index. Health spokesperson and Undersecretary Rosario Vergeire tells us more live. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have health spokesperson Rosario Vergeire. Usec, welcome to the source. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, good morning, ma'am, and good morning to all of you.
So let's start with the extension of the vaccination days. Please tell us more about it for those who might have just woken up and found out that ito pala ay ma-extend hanggang Friday.
Yes, ma'am. So we are just giving information to the public that the national vaccination days has been extended due to the clamor of a lot of local governments to extend the national vaccination day, because we are seeing that a lot of people are still flocking our vaccination sites for these vaccines to be given to them.
Okay, and then it's still the usual, no, Usec, for public information. It's still the qualified individuals who are going to be allowed inside the vaccination centers, and as long as they are registered, meron po silang registration sa mga LGU.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, tinanggal po natin yan. We are encouraging our local governments that even walk-in should be accepted because they're already there. Nandun na po yung chance para bigyan ng bakuna. Huwag na po natin tanggihan. So even those who have not registered with their local governments, whenever they go to the vaccination site, they will be vaccinated.
I know, I spoke to Secretary Vince Dizon yesterday and sinasabi nga niya, lahat ng pumila daw, whether nag-register o hindi, dapat umalis na nabakunahan.
Tama po yun, ma'am. No? So because this is really the objective why we are having these national vaccination days, to vaccinate as many. So we cannot turn away those people who have not registered and have lined up already in our vaccination site.
I hope that at some point, I remember Secretary Vince was saying yesterday na kung hindi man kayang online, dapat daw sana merong desk doon sa mga LGU, sa vaccination centers para doon din sila makapag siguro update o kumuha ng kanilang registration kahit hindi online. At least there has to be a desk there. I guess what I'm saying, Usec, is sana po yun po talaga ang mangyari because maraming posibleng pumunta at hindi nakapag-register online at nagnanais na mabakunahan.
Tama po yun, ma'am. No? So we have already given that information to our local governments, and as I've said, we are encouraging them na sana po magkaroon ng iba't ibang paraan so that we can accommodate all of those who line up, all of those who go to these sites that we have for vaccination dahil gusto na po nila magpabakuna at kailangan na po nila ang bakuna.
And take advantage of the extended vaccination days. All right. Undersecretary, let's talk about Omicron. Any update from the genome sequencing if Omicron has already been detected here in the country?
Well, so far, based on our results for sequencing, we still have not detected this Omicron variant. We are still processing our samples for this week, and maybe Friday or Saturday we will get results already. What we are doing right now is prioritizing also returning overseas Filipinos in our sequencing runs so that we may be able to better see if we have the Omicron here in the country or not.
It's been, since we have been talking about the genome sequencing, you've told us that this runs on a weekly basis and the results actually come out Friday or Saturday. Is really the priority now just the OFWs or those arriving from the 14 banned or red list countries? Yung pong, siguro, sorry, let me repeat that. rephrase that question. Yun ho bang dumating? First, dito po muna tayo, Usec, na hindi pa nagkaroon ng ban. What is the update na lang po with them? Because the Bureau of Quarantine was saying that they were monitoring over 60 individuals.
Yes, ma'am. No? So for all of those travelers who have come into the country, we have about 64 individuals that are now currently being monitored by the Bureau of Quarantine. What we have as a protocol would be that all returning overseas Filipinos, when they come in the country and they test positive, we send them for sequencing. It is different when it comes to the community, because in the community, we do purposive sampling, wherein we only sequence those we have this high index of suspicion. Like if there are clustering of cases, if there are more severe cases being identified in a specific area, congregation of or the clustering in workplaces in different settings. But for all returning overseas Filipinos, we do our sequencing so that we can be able to determine if there are incoming or the entry of some forms of variants that are coming from other countries.
So, yung pong there were supposed to be 4 individuals that arrived from South Africa prior to the ban. Ano po? One was supposed to be a Filipino, balikbayan, and he arrived or she arrived November 26, and there were about 3 foreigners who also arrived November 25. And ito po ata yung 4 ay nakauwi na sa Negros Occidental. Any update on the 4?
Yes, ma'am. No, so actually, these 4 individuals were cleared by the Bureau of Quarantine because they had negative test results on RT-PCR. So they were sent back to their hometown where they are being isolated again, no, by the local government as a precautionary measure. So these 4 individuals are now isolated. They do not have any signs and symptoms. They are all fully vaccinated, actually.
Okay, so that's good to hear. But are they going to be retested? And will they be genome sequenced if they are candidates?
Yes, of course. They will be. They have been swabbed already. We are just waiting for the results. And then once positive, they will be sequenced because they came from a red-listed country.
Got it. So apart from them, there's supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, 7 more in Metro Manila that are going back to Negros Occidental that also came from South Africa. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So these individuals are being monitored as well.
Okay. And wala po sa kanila doon sa 7 na nag-positive so far dito sa Metro Manila?
Wala pa po, no? So as long as I've said, we have this protocol wherein they have this 72 hours pre-departure test, and all of them turned out to be negative. But of course, they're coming from a red-listed country. That's why we are closely monitoring them.
All right. We just need to take a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our source today, Health Spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergeire. Usec, I read that apparently prior to the recorded case in South Africa, there was a recorded case in the Netherlands. Parang ang sinasabi po, mas nauna pa ata yung Omicron sa Netherlands na recorded than the one that we found out or discovered in South Africa. What is the plan for OFWs who may have arrived in the country from the Netherlands? And if so, has this been checked kung meron po at ilan sila?
Actually, meron po tayong mga countries ngayon that we are considering to be included as part of the red list so that we can further prevent entry of this Omicron variant. So Netherlands is part of that. No? So we have done our research and we have coordinated as well with our international health regulations, and we have verified that in Netherlands there is this case. Also, all in other countries. Now, I'm not going to mention them anymore. But the plans and the protocols would be that we will be proposing to the IATF that these specific countries that we have just identified to have this Omicron variant should be included in our red-listed country. So as to the number of individuals who came from these countries, we are currently getting them so that it can be part of the details that we present to the IATF officials.
But if you get the numbers from the passengers coming from the red list countries, what do you intend to do? What would be the protocol that you plan to suggest?
Oh, well, when we imposed this protocol for this prevention of entry of Omicron, there had been individuals already that came in the country prior to this imposition,
Opo.
even from South Africa.
Opo.
So yes, what we did was to contact trace them. We backtraced, we identified these individuals, and we endorsed them to our local government so that they can be strictly monitored. If you remember, some of these countries were part of the green countries also and the yellow countries. So
Right.
they had shorter protocols for quarantine. That's why we wanted that they be strictly monitored in the local governments and do self-monitoring.
So in the red list countries that have been identified, what I counted was about 14. Are you saying that you are proposing to add additional countries to these 14 red listed countries?
Well, it's going to be very dynamic from this point, ma'am, no? Because we are not just looking at the identification of this Omicron variant in the country so that we can be able to determine if they're red, yellow, or green. We also look at their incidence rates and two-week growth rates, meaning how the number of cases are increasing in their specific country. So that's part of our classification also. So aside from looking at the trends of cases in their area, if there is a detection of this Omicron variant, and then we propose that they be included. But as I've said, it's going to be dynamic from this point because if ever the WHO releases the information on the characteristics of this virus, and then we can be able to better determine if we still need to control more of these countries.
Yeah, because much still needs to be found out or discovered about Omicron. I mean, on my end, from what I know is that it has mutated. Its spike protein has mutated 30 times compared to Delta, which mutated 9 times from the original variant. So sinasabi nga nila, this potentially could be more transmissible, potentially could be more dangerous, or, I mean, as you were saying, this needs to evolve. But I didn't quite get an answer to my question. Doon sa 14 po, meron ho ba kayong nakikitang kailangan pang idagdag sa red list sa ngayon?
We analyze, no? So sa ngayon po, katulad ng sabi ko, we are going to propose additional countries, no?
Okay.
Based on the detection of this Omicron variant. But as I've said, we also need to balance it off with the case trends. They might have detected one Omicron variant, but their trends of cases are just below, no, this incidence rate that we can classify them as red, and then we're not going to recommend. So it's still being studied. We have the IATF later, and then we will be informing the public after.
There have been also discoveries, hindi ho ba, Usec, in Japan, and just a couple of hours ago, I read also in the United States there was a recorded case as well. I wanted to find out from you because many times we've talked about how testing, the best time to test would be on the 5th day. And because of the yellow list, the green list, etc., because of the varying colors of the countries and those coming in, nagpapalit ho kasi yung quarantine protocols, ano po. Would the DOH, now that Omicron is becoming a real threat, is a threat, do you feel that it's time to be more consistent with the quarantine protocols in terms of coming home and testing on the 5th day and staying until the 7th day? Ganun ho ba regardless kung saang bansa siya galing?
Well, actually, our experts have said that there is what the protocols we have right now are still effective, even if it's an Omicron variant. We cannot discount the fact on the benefits of vaccination, that we know that fully vaccinated individuals, no matter what variant you have, no, would still have that kind of protection and lesser transmissibility. That's why the protocols are like that. What we have right now would be that we are assured that this pre-departure test, no, if they test negative, that they do not have the disease. And then when they come in on the third day, they get tested again, so that the possibility of getting the disease while on flight and while traveling would also be eliminated. And then the next assurance would be that when we endorse them to the local governments, they will be monitored strictly. But right now, the protocol, especially for returning overseas Filipinos, once they turn positive, we need to ensure that they stay for 14 days, especially if they get detected with the Omicron variant.
Right. Okay. That needs to be addressed, no? And really talked about, Usec, kasi marami pong uuwi sa ating mga kababayan, mga OFWs, mga balikbayans na uuwi po because of Christmas and the holidays. So the protocols stay as is. Just also very quickly, I wanted to get your thoughts on, just yung warning po, because alert level 2 po tayo, and I've heard you many times say na hindi natin pwedeng kalimutan yung ating health protocols, and we're seeing somehow in some areas. I remember sabi niyo pa ho, di ba pagka indoor 50% lang dapat ang tao, pero nakikita parang minsan hindi na po nasusunod yan. Do you feel a little bit concerned that alert level 2 is somehow, siguro the health protocols are not being followed so much at baka naaabuso po?
Yes, we are very much concerned actually. Not concerned about the protocols because the protocols are there. It has to be enforced. What we are concerned about would be that establishments are not complying with the specific protocols that we have with the capacity. And we are encouraging and we are asking local governments to enforce better so that we can be able to sustain this gain that we have right now of continuing decline in the number of cases. The protocols are there. This alert level system has been proven to be more effective than the wider community quarantine restrictions. But we all need to do our part by not being complacent and following the protocols. And of course, local governments and establishments has to comply with the safety protocols that we are imposing.
Health spokesperson Maria Rosario Vergeire, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And we will be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned.